Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, to our fifth video of the basic technical analysis course on the Cryptoeconomics channel. As you've seen from our previous four videos, which you can find on our channel, there's the Cryptoeconomics channel on YouTube. We have went through the basic, I would say, knowledge you need to have for starting to use charts in TradingView, starting with levels, accumulation and distribution phases, triangle formations, W and M formations, which we already passed. I would advise you to find this course in the special playlist for technical analysis, which you can find as part of our channel, to pass through them to understand what we have went so far and to understand how you can use and apply these special type of formations on a chart. Now we're going to, so in this particular video, we're going to do a usage of the previous formations and I would say in this case levels to try to see how it's going to be used in everyday trading. Don't forget, at the end of the day, the channel that we are currently, I would say, supervising and trying to improve is more about investing. But in this particular case, we're going to try to use these basic formations to see how it will look like in a everyday trading chart. Now, how do we actually use the trading view to be able to practice our, in this case, charting skills? You need to find the button called replay, and you need to practically go to a certain part of the chart. In this case, we're going to go random to a starting part of the Bitcoin chart, and we're going to go down to, for example, a daily chart. So in this case, obviously, we will not be able to know exactly where we are in the chart, and it's going to be easy for us to practically try to see how we can use what we have learned so far. Now, what we're going to do first is, as you've seen before, we're going to go step by step. First, we're going to determine the levels. Now, we're going to go a little bit higher to a weekly level, since we, in a practical way, need to start from the monthly level, but we're going to start from a weekly level since we're doing a lower part of the chart regarding the time frames, and we're just going to go, I would say, from a weekly level to understand how this works. Now, as you can see, the controls for the chart itself you can find on the bottom part of the chart, where you can actually go forward practically 1 week every time you press this button, and you can see how the chart progresses, and you can see if you have actually made the right decision. As we mentioned, first we're going to go from the first knowledge that we acquired in this course. This is the weekly levels. Now we're going to see that the main, I would say, bear trend started from this particular candle, and we're going to determine that the first weekly level is exactly from the start of this body of the candle. We're going to determine several levels that are going to help us practically on the charting later on. These are all the bearish trends that we can see, starting with these weekly bodies of the candles. As well, we can see some, I would say, bullish trends as well, which are also, from what we can see, level. Now, in this particular case, since these are very close, we are going to take out the later level that we have found. This is the actual main level that currently is, I would say, main in this particular case, because again, the older levels from before the chart are always more important than the newer levels, which are, as you can see, already respected on the chart itself. We're going to go forward also and find some levels from the previous part of the chart as well, which might be a potential support, where we can actually hope to reach, I would say, end of this correction that we see here. And we're going to find additional level here, which would be practically the lowest level from the starting point of a bullish trend. Now, these are the main weekly levels that we're going to use to see if any of them will hold as a support. Now, also, we need to keep in mind that we're going to use the basic information that we have learned so far. These are the M formation, W formation, and triangle formations. As well, we're going to keep track of the trades that we have done, so we can see if we have managed to practically make profit or loss on our trading exercise. Now, how we're going to do, as we can see, we have already determined the basic levels. So far, we don't have any W or M formation. What we do have, from what we can see, is a triangle formation, and it's something like this. Just I'm trying to see the actual size. So as we said, the size need to be practically cutting as least as possible candles. As you can see, this particular case, this is the bottom part of the triangle. This would be the lower part of the triangle. And obviously, as we have mentioned before, when the triangle is with the top of the triangle downwards, usually there is a, I would say, a situation in which the downward trajectory of the chart starts to wane because there is losing power. People are practically selling, and at certain point there is no more sellers. So we can see that the triangle is starting to fill up. What did we say? 70% of the triangle usually is the starting point of which we are expecting a breakout. Now, in this particular case, where we're going to continue to see how the chart will progress, we can continue on a weekly level. We can see that it is good enough for this practice in particular. So now we just click on the button to see if we have practically determined, in this case, the triangle itself. I think we're quite right, and we're close to breakout from the triangle. Don't forget, we're going to have a lot more indicators, formations to use in the next video. So this is very basic, I would say, way to try to understand if we have actually learned something. Now, what do we see? We said that in this particular case, this is a very good setup because, first of all, we have managed to retest this lower level. So obviously it showed as a support. Now, there is a very big possibility that from this point onwards, we can expect that the price will explode upwards, as we have seen before. This kind of downward triangles are usually the biggest probability is that they will break upwards. So we're expecting that from this position onwards is going to practically go upwards. Not what we're going to do. We're going to put a long position in this particular case. Again, don't put too much effort into it. I'm just trying to explain to you. We're going to use the long position just as an idea for you to understand that practically we have learned how to actually put a position and where to start a position. Now we're going to put the stop loss below this level, which we're expecting to hold since it was already twice practically respected. So we're going to use below this level as a, I would say, safe point to stop the trade in case the chart starts going downwards. There is always a possibility we are wrong. And we're going to keep this open upwards because we're expecting that there is a bigger probability for the chart to start going upwards. Now we're going to continue. So practically we have opened a position. This is the trade. This is going to be our first trade, as we have said in the chart that we have over here. And we're going to see if we have managed to bring the right call for it. Now we just go forward. So far, we're about to potentially break out. There we go. So we have a breakout, and now we're expecting that the price will go upwards. Now, do you remember what we said? We said that on these particular triangles, usually we take the measurement from the top of the triangle itself, from the place that we're trying to break out, to the bottom of the other side under an angle of 90 degrees, and potentially this would be practically the breakout we're expecting for it to be determined. The actual, I would say, target of a potential breakout from this triangle, this would be the last target that it should reach out from this particular position. Now, if we continue forward, we can see that we are currently in profit in this trade. We are in the green part, and we're expecting this to continue. Sometimes it happens that exactly we have a retest of the triangle itself, but usually this particular, I would say, formations after the retest is done, they should continue upwards. And we're going to wait a little bit since we're still, as you can see, on our entry level. Nothing has changed. The formation is still respected quite good. And we're going to see if we are building another formation. What is the other formation that we have learned? It's the W formation. Actually, in this case, this is the double bottom formation. As we can see over here, we have, I would say, close to a W formation. Although this left part is, as you can see, a little bit deeper, but it is very close to a W formation. Now, from this particular point, we might experience, as we have mentioned before, a retest to the middle point before going upwards. This will be the middle point, and this will be a level, as we can see, a weekly level that is determined. Now let's see if we're going to be right, but in any case, this is, as you can see, profitable trade that we have just done, and we can see that actually that's exactly what happened. As you can see, the retest was exactly to the previous middle part of the W formation, and we have continuing onwards. Now, in this particular case, until we reach the next level up, I would definitely close this trade, because obviously we have managed to get profit from this particular trade, and I wouldn't want to actually lose it waiting for the chart to go to the exact target from the actual triangle. As you can see, it's still on the same place, and here we are practically. I think this is going to be the going up practically from the starting position after we have actually retested, as we've seen, the middle part of the W formation. And as we mentioned, the next level here will be where we would exit this trade. Why? Because again, as we can see, this is a very important weekly level, and we would not want to lose the trade itself. And in this particular case, we have managed to make 168% in our first trade, where we practically exited the trade itself. Now we're going to go down, and we're going to write our first trade, and we're going to write, in this particular case, 168% plus for our first trade, which means that in this case we have actually determined a very right trade. We have used practically all the tools that we have so far. We're going to do several more, and we're going to write down to see if our trading, I would say, usage of these formations have been successful. Now, obviously, once we have closed our position, we are going to wait for this formation to complete itself before we have a particular next setup. Obviously, as we have seen, this might go on to actually reach the upper target. But again, for us to actually try to enter a next position, we would wait for at least some kind of a correction before we can actually potentially enter a next position. Now, in this case, obviously, we need to see how the chart will progress until we can spot a different, I would say, different type of correction, different type of setup. And in this case, I think we actually have. We're going to delete the previous one for it not to confuse ourselves. As we can see over here, we have a second W formation. Let me just make it clear. From this level, as we can see, this would be the W formation that I can see currently, which have actually retested the middle level, close to the middle level, before continuing upwards. Now, I'm going to just leave this as an idea what we're expecting to at least this level. And obviously, what we can see, this is the W formation that we have actually experienced currently. We have close to, is not very close to the previous middle part, but obviously it is a larger W formation, and we can actually start a movement upwards. Now, very important is that we're expecting in this particular case the price to actually reach the previous level. This is a different, I would say, formation that we still haven't managed to mention. This is the cup and handle formation, which we're going to mention in the future. But still, obviously, the cup and handle is very similar to the W, with a retest of this level where we have 1 second retest, and we're expecting now the level to break. Even if not so, we're going to set up from here a long position, where we're going to put the safety of this position below the previous level, below this accumulation, which would be practically safe level for any particular correction downwards. And we're going to put our position up, expecting that is going to reach this target from this triangle. Let's see if we are going to be successful. Now, again, don't forget, trading is not 100% profitable. Sometimes you can actually reach some losses as well. But the idea is for us to see if the usage of these formations can actually help us reach. Now we can see we have just reached the level that we were expecting. This is the previous all-time high of the chart, and obviously this is the first retest. Potentially we might experience another retest of the level, but I think we have a very good setup for the price to continue onwards to reach the previous target that we have mentioned from this triangle, and we're going to continue to do so. There we go. We're going to expect that this is a very good setup to continue potentially reach the target that we are expecting. Obviously, as we mentioned, that's the retest, since there is a lot of people trying to exit this particular level. And once we have reached close to the target that we're expecting, we're going to definitely exit the position. Here we go. Full retest of the level. Why is this so? Because there is a lot of people that have actually bought here. Unfortunately, their price corrected, and now they're exiting this level because obviously they want to exit practically on a zero. But unfortunately, for them, usually this is where the interesting part starts. And here we go. We are going to exit here, and we are going to take a profit. And in this particular case, we have managed 181% for our second transaction. Now, don't forget that this is a very fast way of actually practicing your chart skills, because otherwise every one of these candles takes a full week to complete. But in this case, obviously, we're going to practically try to use them as fast as possible for you to actually learn and see how to use them in these particular cases for your benefit. Now, in this case, we can see that we're actually building a very large upwards momentum, and we're going to wait a little bit until this chart at least correct itself, because obviously we have, as you can see, a full explosion. And in this particular case, we do not enter a chart when it actually goes too high up. Now, we're going to use a smaller time frame to see how currently the positions of this chart looks like, because again, the worst mistake you can actually do is to enter a chart like this, because obviously we are already quite high in this particular chart, and entering a chart that is actually in an exploding mode is actually very, very wrong thing to do, because you never know when this massive correction upwards will correct, because a lot of people will take profits. Now, in this particular case, we'll have to wait at least for another solid correction, which obviously is not going to come. For this particular reason, what we're going to do, we're going to go backwards to a different part of the chart. Now, we have actually managed to use this part to actually learn something more. Now, let's say we're going to go to a different part of the chart. We're going to go, for example, here. And in this particular case, we can learn, just a moment, we can learn, unfortunately, we haven't managed. We can learn a different part of, I would say, the chart. Start a new one, let's say here. Now, as we have mentioned, we're going to go to a different part of the chart, since we have practically exhausted that one. It's only an upwards movement, which will practically, we cannot enter, obviously, since it's going to be too risky. Over here, we're going to do the same. We're going to repeat the same. We're going to provide the actual levels on a weekly time frame before we can actually start to practically use this chart. This will be the first one. This will be the bearish movement, the second one. Onwards and upwards, we can see one level here. We can see another level here, which are the start of the movements upwards and downwards, and another level on this particular place. So practically, we have actually managed to see what we have seen, a correction. Now, what we can see here, as we have mentioned before, is a massive M formation with a obviously correction, as we can see. Now, this would be particularly correction here before continuing downwards. This would be how I would say full M formation would actually be completed. As we have remembered before, we said when we have this kind of situation, we have a retest to the middle point and going downwards. Now, the middle point doesn't have to be respected completely for this formation to be successful, but we're definitely going to wait until this formation goes downwards before we actually determine a particular low for us to enter. So far, obviously, we have to wait until this further movement downwards to actually be able to think about entering a, I would say, position. So far, obviously, we're going down, and we're going to wait for just a moment. Now, here we go. Over here, what we can see is that we have retested the previous level, and obviously for this particular case, this was the end of the M formation. So the M formation at this particular point have concluded because we have retest more or less close to the previous middle point, and it went downwards another low until we have actually determined a low of the chart at this particular point. Another thing we can see, not only the M position, we can see something else. We can see a triangle formation forming downwards here. Why is this so important? We can see that in this particular case, the downward correction in this particular triangle was broken. Once this triangle was broken, as we mentioned before, downward triangles, once they're broken, we have a very big possibility for them to break out upwards. And this has just happened. We have just entered a breakout point from this triangle. What we're going to do, the first moment that this actually broke out, we're going to put a long position here, and we're going to put the stop loss below this level. This is going to be a weekly level where the bullish momentum has just started. So obviously we're going to be safe, potentially below this level, and we're going to expect for this to at least reach, obviously, this particular point. This is the middle point of the M formation, which would be definitely a very strong resistance of the price itself. Now let's see if we have actually made the right call. Obviously, the price starts going up. So the breaking out of the triangle has been successful, and we're going to wait until the price potentially reaches upwards to the target that we have, and we're going to exit. Now, we're going to exit exactly here. Let me tell you why. Usually, not only us, millions of people are waiting for the target to reach these particular levels. That's the, I would say, strength of the chart itself, because there is a lot of people seeing exactly these levels, seeing exactly these indicators to try to actually make a successful trade. In this particular case, we're not going to go too much into risk. As we can see, so far we have managed to make 62%, and we're going to take this as a win, and we're going to put it in our chart. So this is the third one where we have actually managed to make plus 62%, which so far gives us, as we can see, quite a lot of wins on these particular charts. Now, obviously, from this point onwards, we're going to continue to see how the chart progresses, and we can spot some other formation to be able to use. Usually, the price would reach this level, and it should correct after it reaches. As you can see, it actually happening right now, but we are going to wait until this correction looks like it's finished, obviously. Now, this is as you can see, a reaccumulation. This is, we can see a proper reaccumulation phase on a potential move upwards. Another thing we can actually see here is that we have, just a moment, we have a very nice W formation. Now, in this particular case, the W formation would be a bit different. Unfortunately, it's not a double bottom. As you can see over here, is higher, and I think this might be used as a W formation. Let's see how it's going to look like. So in this case, obviously, for the W formation to be successful, we're going to expect that this W formation will reach the higher target, which is the dead cat bounce from the previous bear market. And since this is a retest, obviously, of the middle level, we're going to use it in this case as an entry point. So looks like there will be a consolidation in this particular level, and we're going to risk it a little bit in this case, and we're going to put our position a little lower than this particular accumulation phase, and we're going to expect for the price to reach this previous level from the W formation and the previous dead cat bounce. Let's see if we are currently correct. So this level later on, as you can see, is still a good support, and we're retesting the previous middle point of this M formation, which we can see is quite hard to breach. But we have actually built this W formation and additionally this cup and handle formation, which means that more this level is retested, more there is a chance for it to break, and I think we're going to see that break soon. Still, retest of the previous level is quite common. As you can see, still good support. the price haven't started going down, so we're safe with the stop loss we have put on the previous level. As you can see, we're quite safe here because there is as you can see, several levels and reaccumulations in particular case, and we have just reached a breakage of this level, which will lead us potentially to the target that we're expecting, and we are going to risk it a little bit and wait until this target is potentially closely done. And again, we will close our position close to the previous target. Why? Again, very important, because not only us, there is millions of people waiting to close the position closer to this target, which will lead to a larger corrections before we reach the target. So for this particular case, we're not going to go risk it, and we're going to save our profit at 71.6%. 71 should be the amount that we have managed to secure in this particular case. As we can see, these basic formations are actually helping us to understand the chart and to see psychologically what is expected from the traders to do next. Now, in this particular case, we're going to wait until we have at least retested this previous level before we are entering a different entry, because obviously, exactly, see, the moment that it touched this level, we saw a large capitulation. People are actually selling and taking profits. Now, we always will wait until, there we go. This is the breakage that I'm talking about. Now, once we have managed to break this point, and we're expecting that the chart will continue upwards, because again, we have a building of a higher cup and handle formation, which is practically, as we can see, the completion of the W formation. The problem in this particular case is that we might be expecting a bigger correction downwards, because as we have mentioned before, once we have fulfilled a W formation, usually we have what? We have a larger correction, which practically retests lower to sometimes even the middle part of the W before going up. But we're going to enter this position because this might have been the correction that we're talking about. So what we're going to do, we're going to open a position here, and we're going to put our stop loss below this accumulation phase, and we're going to be particularly safe, although we should go lower, but let's see. I think this should be quite enough, and we're going to potentially exit before we reach the previous all-time high, which will actually be quite, I would say, profitable for us, because again, every time we come closer to the previous all-time high, we will definitely have, again, same situation. Over here, there is a potential for the people to start selling, so we're just going to close our position. I know it's not a lot, 29%, but still, in this case, usually it might backfire because there is a lot of people trying to exit, as we have seen the same situation in the previous all-time high when we reached in the previous part of the chart. So we're going to close our last entry with 29% profit. As we can see, we have managed to use 5 different setups, use all the indicators and formations that we've learned so far to practically have a full profitable experience in our chart. I hope that you enjoyed. Obviously, we're going to do this often, so expect that after we go through the next 5 indicators and formations, we're going to go and do another trading exercise, as we have done so far, in which you can actually determine if you have mastered your skills. So I would advise you to do this quite often, especially when you're new, and when you start feeling that you have actually mastered all the skills, then and only then you should try to do this on a real chart with real positions. I hope that you enjoyed. Again, I would advise you to go through our course, because there will be a lot more videos coming soon from technical and fundamental course that we have as a separate in our channel. And again, follow our work on YouTube, Cryptoeconomics, as well as you can find in the description all the social media that we're using to spread our knowledge. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day from the team of Cryptoeconomics.